Hello and welcome to a episode of Tupples Talks Football. Yes, that's right, I'm back again and it's the Premier League starting this weekend. Woo! We get to see football in all its glory with fans back, people drinking alcohol for copious amounts of hours and blah 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 and all that. I kind of preferred it when it was 20,000 at Wembley and then it wasn't so bad. But before we get into today's subject matter, I just want to point out, yes, I have had a haircut and I've had my beard shaved. So yes, I look far more attractive than I actually am. So yeah, and I am wearing a Southampton kit today. So yes, that's what I decided to put myself in. So I did. Today's topic of the video, as you've no doubt clicked on, is going to be all about the top 5 players to look out for this season. Now, I've created my own list based off what I think is done well, and whether I think they'll be the ones to watch. They're not going to be watch Jack Grealish at Man City or watch Lukaku at Chelsea. Oh no, we don't do this round here. I'm a bit of a football hipster. I do like to think more creatively outside the box. But do watch Harry Kane if he does leave for Manchester City, because he'll end up scoring 35 goals this season in the league and probably 50 all season if he doesn't get injured. But he's not left yet, so that's fine. But the first player I wanted to bring on my list, let's get into it straight away, is Patterson Dakar of Leicester City. Now, I'm constantly on Twitter and have been for several years. I don't tweet much, but if you do want to follow me, it is the same name as this channel, so it is Tubble's That's TUBBLESMEISTER. Yeah. So if you want to follow me for football opinions and whatnot, you can. And I follow a lot of I'd say out there Twitter profiles and stuff like that. And the Austrian Bundesliga is practically a breeding ground for good players that would do well in lower to mid to sort of top seven and below clubs. So Leicester would probably not be in that category now, but they've definitely got that that pedigree. But Patterson Dakar is one that I've been following for a good number of years. He played alongside a small player you may have heard of, Erling Braut Haaland, at Red Bull Salzburg. And between them, they absolutely dominated the Austrian league between the two of them. That is one scary opposition, Dakar and Haaland. Seriously, they're both quick. Dakar's a little bit smaller than Haaland, which makes it even more scary for defenders. He's really good finishing. He's quite a clinical striker. I actually think he's going to be a better player for Leicester than Iheanacho. So that will be a really interesting dynamic. It's just basically, and this is the simplest way to put it, is Patterson Dakar is Jamie Vardy 2.0. So what will probably happen at the start of the season is Vardy and Iheanacho will start, depending on what Brendan Rodgers wants to set himself up as, and then Dakar will probably come on late on in the games, and then he'll run the defence ragged. But I think we could see, if he starts, we'll probably see 15 goals in all competitions, depending on who Leicester play in the Europa League. I mean, that's all to be decided. I'm talking about Tottenham here. Leicester really have struck gold with the signing of Dakar. I mean, he's quick. He's good off the ball as well. He's got good movement. He's strong. And I just think he's one of those players, because he's so quick. He'll do really well in the Premier League. I'm gonna stick with another striker for my second option, my second player to look out for, and that is my birthday brother, Ivan Toney of Brentford. Now I tell you what, this guy is perhaps not potentially as good as Dakar in the long run, but you see the way that Brentford do their scouting network, and this Moneyball thing they've got going with the B team that they have as well. It's a very unique way of doing things. They did it with Ollie Watkins last year when they sold him off to Aston Villa. Went and brought Ivan Toney in, and Ivan Toney just hit the ground running. He really should have scored in the playoff final, but he smacked it against the bar from 25 yards, and boy did I squeal when that nearly went in. But again, he's very much like Dakar. He's strong, he's fast, and of course, because he is English, he'll, he's not been in the Premier League, but of course he's probably played against Premier League defenders, so he will sort of hit the ground running. And if Brentford can get the service to Toney, then I don't see why he can't have 15 to 19 goals this season in the league. A bit like Andy Johnson did for the game against did for Crystal Palace in that season, where they were relegated at the end, but he was the top scorer. I think he was the top scoring Englishman at the time. And, the way Brentford do things, I think they've got as good a chance as any of staying up. Obviously, spoiler alert, there will be a Premier League predictions video, which either you might have seen or you won't have seen, because this one's uploaded before or after the video, but you'll see my prediction for who's relegated and who is top six, plus a few other bits. So stay tuned for that. But I think Toney, he was at Newcastle, and then they let him go, and he's worked his way up, and it's proved that Newcastle made a mistake. And I actually spoke to someone at the time, and they were saying, "Oh yeah, we'll get rid of him," and I was like, "No, you've made a mistake," and it's proved that I was pretty much on the money. I don't like getting most things wrong, so when I do get something right, I do kind of take it well. But I'm a bit gutted that Brentford did get rid of their midfielder Emiliano Marcondes, because I thought he was a cracking little player. But obviously he's gone off to Bournemouth, and he scored in their first game, so hopefully he can do what Toney's done and come back, because he is a cracking little player. So Toney to score probably, I'd say 15 to 17, 19 if he gets service. If Brentford really do get pummeled, as some of the pundits are saying, then he'll probably get 9 or 10, but I don't see that happening, to be honest. So number 3. We're going to go for a midfielder this time, because can't all be attacking heavy. That midfielder is Michael Elise of Crystal Palace. Now, this guy is from Reading, I believe, and they bought him for 15, 20 mil. He's a right midfielder, and I've not seen enough of him actually physically watching him, but I've seen a lot of clips and stuff on YouTube, as you do as a football freak that I am. You kind of, quite skillful, and what with Crystal Palace having a good record of buying championship level players, and then managing to do, things that, are done well. You had Eberiche Eze last year, who came from QPR, and he was a revelation. I mean, him, Zaha, and Elise in the same team under Patrick Vieira, who I think's very, very unusual appointment, but I think it'll work out for Crystal Palace. It's gone completely against what they did with Roy Hodgson. It's a bit of a weird one. I mean, Eze's out till, January, February. He had some sort of cruciate ligament injury, I believe, and so we're not going to be able to see him, all three of them in action, which is a bit of a shame. But I think Elise could have the. Sorry about that. I just knocked the table. Could have the impact that Eze had last year, if not more, because he's sort of a winger. So if he can sort of get, more assists to Benteke, who's still going, is still a workhorse. But yeah, Elise would just be, that kind of player that Palace need. Someone that's, similar to Zaha, but probably not quite as polished. I mean, Zaha gets linked to everyone these days. Oh yeah, he's going to leave Palace, he's going to do this, going to do that. And I'm just like, no he won't. It's every year, the same thing happens all the time. But I think Elise and Zaha, with Benteke and Eze behind, could surprise a few depending on how quick Eze gets back to fitness, from his injury. So Elise is definitely one to look out for. Just not sure whether I've seen enough of him to make a firm judgment, but I suppose if Crystal Palace stay up at the end of the season, then it will be a good success. The fourth player is one from Spurs. I had to pick one because it wouldn't be much of a video if there wasn't some sort of Spurs mention. And that is our new winger, Brian Hill. Spelt Jill, pronounced Hill, but we won't go into that. He's been given the number 11 shirt today, which is quite a big leap of faith in him, I think. It comes from Sevilla, and I was watching the Olympic final between Brazil and Spain, and he came off the bench. I think he hit the bar. And, he's a very accomplished dribbler. I didn't really know much about him when we signed him, but I did see, again, a few of my friends on Twitter saying, oh, Spurs have got a good deal here. Some people that basically live in the academies of other clubs saying, oh, how Spurs got away with only spending 22 mil on this guy. Did know that he was on loan at Eibar last season, So I had heard of him, but it's not. It wasn't really one that you think, oh yeah, Spurs definitely need to sign him, because we've got Bergwijn, Son, Lucas. I know we've lost Bale, and ironically, he could be a Bale-esque player. And I also think we could see him in the attacking midfield spot as well. I think he could be quite versatile depending on what system Nuno wants to play, how Nuno brings him in, integrates him into the side, how he acclimatises to English English league, because he's quite a tall, thin bloke. I just think he would be good for he would be one of our star players in the Europa Conference League trophy hunt, I suppose we're going to call that this time. I just think he would be one of our standout players. I think with this Europa League conference malarkey that's going on, I mean, I'm just watching a bit of the St Johnstone and Galatasaray, and it was 1-1 before I recorded this. And it's just, why do you need a third European competition? There's enough games as it is. Players are playing, 60 to 70 games a season. There'll come a point when, teams will be fielding, basic youth academies at this rate. But I think Brian Hill could turn out to be a signing like Ericsson, something you make that's very, it looks very good on paper, but then you seem to get the best out of him. I mean, the fact he's only 20, I think he's 21, I believe. So you've got a good 10 years there of worth. That works out roughly about 2.1 million a season if you break your transfer figures, you break the transfer down. So it's not really that much of an outlay, in the grand scheme of things. Not when you look at like Messi, that's like 70 odd million for 2 seasons, if not more. I mean, that just doesn't make sense. But when you invest in youth, it can really pay off, because we could easily 3 seasons time, if he's as good as what people are saying he is, and I think he will be, you could quite easily sell him to Manchester City for 18 million. So I think it's a really good signing, and it will be intriguing to see where he lines up and who he lines up with. Because obviously if Kane's there, then all he'll have to do is provide the service. So it will work for us. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to his arrival, and hopefully we don't get passed by City on Sunday. And the final player of today's video is one I've really been scratching my head over who the 5th player was. I was going to pick Harvey Barnes, but I thought no, because basically everyone knows, nobody's going to go, ooh, it's Harvey Barnes. Nobody would not know who Harvey Barnes is if you knew how well Leicester played last year. So I've decided not to pick Harvey Barnes, and I've gone for Billy Gilmore. Now, Billy Gilmore, Scottish international, young kid at Chelsea, on loan, and he's gone to Norwich on loan to get experience. Now, I know there was a young player who did exactly the same thing last year, and that was Tottenham's Oliver Skipp. And honestly, Gilmore is probably a better... I don't know. I don't want to say that, actually. Gilmore and Skippy are on the same level. Yeah, I'm going to say that. But because Gilmore's Scottish, he'll have more chance to, grab an international cap as he did against England in the Euro 2020 and played very well. Then got COVID, and then that just ruined Scotland, I think. But yeah, Billy Gilmore's a certain type of player. He's a good midfielder, good with the ball, as most young kids are growing up to be now. And being at Norwich is probably a good move for him. I don't think you go to a mid-table club because you might get forced out by a slightly older person in your position. But I think because, again, Norwich do the Moneyball aspect of things, and they don't buy a huge amount either. So I think having Gilmore there has basically replaced Oliver Skip from last season, and it'll be interesting to see if Norwich will be as gung ho as they were the season before last when they got promoted to the Premier League. Because I think they lost a bit of control in midfield, and their defenders were under so much pressure that they just capitulated in some games. It was great to watch Norwich from a neutral perspective, but it was also, quite bad to watch them because you knew what was coming. But they've got some great players like Todd Cantwell, Timu Pukki, but I think Gilmore could make a difference in that midfield by, building up a relationship with the midfielders and just keeping the chances that Norwich concede on a regular basis. I mean, I'm just waiting for when we play Norwich, both home and away, because I know that if Tim Krul's playing, we're not going to win, because Tim Krul always has that wonder game against us where he saves about 12 shots. So let me know what you think. Any players that I should look out for. Drop it down in the comments below who you think, whether you agree with me or not. Like this video if you do like it, and subscribe up down the bottom there on the bottom right. It's totally free. I'm not forcing you to. I haven't put a gun to your head, not yet. But if you like these style of videos, because these seem to do better than my gaming ones, let me know what you think, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace out.